Two.
Hey everybody, I am Ellie Underwood. This is my husband, Jeff. And we are doing a 314 podcast. So welcome to our new podcast. We're excited that you're listening or watching us.
314 is based off of Colossians 3:14. Beyond all things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. So this is kind of where we're going. So the podcast is we're going to talk about marriage, kids, families, blended families, newlyweds, oldlyweds, church, living life, and just careers, different things like that. So it's kind of all over the place, but it's really based off of from a perspective of someone that's married, and people that are not married can get something from it as well. So
we're pretty cool. You can watch us anyways. Cool.
So tell them what you wanted to talk about today.
So some of the choices I was given, some were a little hard to talk about. And so I picked one that I thought maybe was a good opener that I could ease into. And that was something that I knew I was working on now, which is being thoughtful. And I know everybody thinks I'm such a thoughtful person.
Everybody that knows you knows that you're
But I do struggle with being thoughtful because I'm a type A person that's like, check the boxes, get it done, and I forget to stop and just breathe and think about other people sometimes.
What do you struggle with most about it, though? I mean, as far as, I know you're type A, but what's the hardest thing to do? You just forget, you get busy?
I think I get busy, but I want to get things done. So I don't go into the emotional side of things. Like I tend not to be an emotional person. Except for crying at commercials. That's different.
I mean, we could lose somebody and you'd be like, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And then the stupid commercial comes on and you're crying your eyes out. I mean, it's crazy how you...
I don't know, but like thoughtfulness, you have to stop and put yourself aside. I mean, I don't consider myself a selfish person, but you really do have to pay attention. What are they saying? What are they giving off? Like, what is their body language? And to me, listening's just hard to do sometimes.
Are you talking about it in general or just with us as
in general, but it applies to you as well. So, like, in the home, it's get the laundry done, do the dishes, clean the house, feed the dogs, pick the blueberries.
You're welcome.
Oh, my gosh. Go to church. What do we need to do for church today? Who's on the baseball field today? Who's got volleyball today? Right. And you're just so busy checking boxes, and I forget to think, how's my husband today? What is he feeling today? Is there something I need to do for him today? Like I don't stop to be thoughtful of you.
So you think it kind of carries over in not just in marriage, but in life in general, because of the personality?
Yeah, I think I attribute it to my personality, and I do think there's a big difference between type A's and type B's, and thoughtfulness kind of plays into that. But I do just think in the time that we're in today, we don't have time to be thoughtful. Mm-hmm. We don't have time to stop and breathe and have a conversation and listen.
Yeah, I think it is a biblical concept to be thoughtful. To think on things that are pure, that are holy, and when you do those type of things, is the way that you treat other people,
right?
And you prefer others above yourself, according to the scripture. And it's not that you don't do that, because you do that well. I get what you're saying. You get busy and you think, oh dear Lord, I forgot to check on Jeff or check on the kids, right, because I was so busy or involved with what I'm doing at the moment.
Or like you may text in the middle of the day for no reason and go, hey, just thinking of you, love you, whatever. Whereas I could go 6-7 hours and go, oh, wait, let me pick up my phone and text all my family and my husband and my children. You know what I mean? Like I operate that way. That's what I'm getting at. I'm just not a thoughtful person.
Probably because I'm more bored than you. I mean, I work hard at what I do, but my job is not, or jobs, whatever, are not constantly being around people and being responsible for 600 kids and whatever. I mean, that's kind of a deal. So I'm making excuses for you. You know why? Because I'm thoughtful.
Right? That's the point. You're thoughtful. I'm not.
That's not true.
No, I guess that's what I'm getting at, is like trying not to make excuses, and do things beyond the excuses.
Right.
And to make it a priority. We've always taught our children, and we've taught our church, you have priorities. You've got God is first, husband, wife comes next, the children are next, then it's your responsibilities and whatever. And so I think if you get that right in the home, then it filters over, bubbles over, whatever, into other areas of your life and in social and whatever. So, yeah.
Well, kind of the focus of this whole, I guess, be Facebook, YouTube, and podcast, be on Spotify and a few other platforms. I think iTunes and whatever else that's out there. Just look for it. But I think the goal is for us to talk. I mean, we have momentum going with something we were doing pre-pandemic, and it was just building
During
momentum.
pandemic.
A lot of people we just stopped because of life and other things, and we just want to help people. People
Mm-hmm.
were like, we want you guys to talk. Not that we have anything to say. They just like hearing what you have to say. I mean, that's basically what it is.
I don't even like hearing my own voice.
I'm looking at one of the monitors, and I'm going, I'm way older looking than I was pre-pandemic. I mean, I was probably now.
You're aging gracefully.
Is that what, I don't think it's graceful.
Most women like it. Salt and pepper.
I don't care about women.
Salt
I won't.
and pepper. It's good stuff.
I'm worried about you, and I'm worried about, God, I look old. And
No, you don't.
Yes, I
Whatever.
do. I saw a person.
There are men out there that pay good money for hair like
to
that.
look old.
Yeah, there's women out there now that do that hair color stuff and
But I'm a
gray
man.
on purpose.
Oh gosh, I'm a man.
Whatever. Whatever you like.
We had a kid that came to church. Hadn't seen him in months and months. He came to church, and just out of nowhere. And I said, "Hey man, what are you doing? It's good to see you." And I said, "Man, you're making me feel old." And he looked at me and he said, "You're looking old, PJ."
Oh gosh.
He said, "It's the hair."
Well, that's just part of getting older.
Full of flowing blonde locks.
You just have to embrace it and appreciate it.
Anyway, I'm sorry. That's
and
my ADD.
love
moment.
getting older and.
But what we did this so just to kind of give tools to people, not just couples, but people in general, to give them tools to help them just in life. I mean, things that we deal with, things that we're going through, or some things that we're praying about, God puts on our heart. So we just want to talk about them. So it's not really like we know better than you, because we don't. We're just kind of learning blindly together with the Word of God. But we do think it's important to prefer others above yourself, because that's what Jesus did.
I just think we need constant reminders to do it.
Well, what are some things? I wrote down some things and looked up some things, and then I deleted some things.
Because you're more studied than
That's
I.
not true. I had more time. You were busy this morning. You were picking blueberries. So what are some things that you would like for yourself to do, or see me do, or others do, to be more thoughtful? What are some things in the society we live in? People are so, God, they're so about themselves. It's
Right.
not. And I think we are too. Sometimes we get to that point where we're about ourselves, but people are they're not thoughtful anymore. It's get out of my way. I got somewhere to be. No one else matters but me and my family at this point,
I think one of the things that I hear a lot is like, somebody will have surgery and everybody's bringing food.
Yeah.
Or there was a death in the family and everybody's doing something. I don't know. And a lot of times I want to do things or help, and I hear the statement, well, you're too busy. You have so much going on, right?
Yeah.
And they're right. But I don't want that to be a reason. Like, I don't want that to be an excuse. And I even find myself saying, well, if it's, in the summertime, I can do this, I can do that, I can do it, because I only work a certain amount of hours in the summer. But I don't want that to be an excuse. And I don't want people to think that of me, well, she's too busy. And I don't think they think negatively of it. But I want to make relationships and being thoughtful a priority. And then for you, it's like, I don't want you to think that all these other things matter more. So I want to be able to, I don't know, buy a little trinket every once in a while, or buy a little snack for you. You know what I mean? Like, there are days at work where you'll
You do
show
that
up
every week. You buy groceries.
point. But there are days where you'll like drive up out of nowhere and bring me a snack to work. Well, that's thoughtful.
Because I can leave. But I get it.
But but that goes a long way.
Right.
And you might do that once a week, or you may do it once every couple of weeks, but it was the thoughtfulness that counted. It was the thoughtfulness that was like, whoa, that was a surprise. But it also was like I was having a stressful day and I needed it, or whatever. Or maybe not a stressful day and I just needed a snack. So I want to be able to do those things. So it's like it's innate in you and in your personality. Why is it not innate in me? And why do I have to plan to be thoughtful? Mm-hmm. I feel like you're thoughtful naturally, whereas I have to plan to be thoughtful.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, and I think that kind of the whole goal of this episode is to teach people and ourselves how sometimes maybe you need to write it down. I mean, you write down everything. You have note after
Be
note
thoughtful
after
to
note.
Jeff today.
Right. That should be an everyday thing. But, I mean, you have notes, and I don't think it's wrong until you get yourself to a habit. There's a book that's up here, or a booklet, I guess it was called. It's called The 21-Day Habit.
He likes to read.
Yeah. If you do things for 21 days, they say that it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it intentionally for 21 days, and it's true. I mean, I've done things like that, and sometimes it does take longer than 21 days. But maybe write it down, I think one thing, and it was the number one on my list, is check in with people. Mm-hmm. I think that's more thoughtful than anything out of the blue to get a message from somebody.
Just so they know you're thinking of them.
Yeah.
And I think in some relationships, this is reversed. Like, there's a lot of women out there right now going, well, I'm the thoughtful one. I'm always doing something for him or making him a love cake. I don't know what people do. See, I can't even give a good example.
What's a love cake?
I don't know.
This is a rated PG show. I
can't even give a good example.
I don't
but
know.
like, and they're begging their husband to give them flowers or, I don't know, mow the grass without being asked. I'm just kidding. You're really good at that. Okay.
Do it twice
but
a
I
week.
mean, like, I just don't want people to get caught up in it's always the woman who's thoughtful or it's always the man that should be. To me, it's a two-way street. So, what are we looking at?
I'm looking at the microphone, just making sure it's plugged in right.
Oh, the little light's on. Okay.
I mean, whatever.
Anyway, so yeah, okay, so 21 days. I'm going to do it for 21 days.
Check in with me.
That's your suggestion.
There's other things.
And then it's a habit.
There's things that drive me crazy, not necessarily with you, but sometimes with you, and I think I do it probably more than you do.
It's fixing to get real.
Yeah, it's not pay attention. Like, be intentional about paying attention. Eye contact, putting these things down. And
so what you're saying is not playing my dot game so much.
Yeah, well, I think I like you playing your dot game. It makes you relaxed, or that Wordle thing that you do. But pay attention to people, and I think I need to work on that more so than you. But I find myself doing it with you. I do it with kids. I do it when I'm at my job or at the church or whatever, working, and so I'm one track minded. I got to get this one thing done. If I don't do it the way I am, I'll forget about it. But being thoughtful is just paying attention to somebody that maybe needs 2 or 3 minutes of your time just for you to stare at them and listen to them and not be looking beyond them. I think that's the thing, and I think that's key in a lot of marriages. Ours, we do a pretty good job of that, of being intentional. I mean, there are days that you're like, quit sitting beside me on the love seat. There's all these other chairs here in this living room. But I try to just go and we separate when we eat, though, so we sit far apart.
You be trying to eat you be trying to eat my food.
Okay, that's a fair point. But I think it's important, and not just in relationships, but there are some husbands, not just in marriage relationships, but also in life and career, with parents and family and stuff like that, or your friends. But I think there are there are spouses out there that just don't pay attention to one another.
I agree.
I mean, they think, well, we're married. What's the big deal? I've worked, paid attention to all these people all day long. Why should I come home and pay attention or to you?
Well, and I get that, because there is a point of exhaustion. So you're giving of yourself all day long to faculty, students, whatever your job is, selling whatever you sell, or paperworking. building, yeah. Paper working.
Paper rock scissors. Paper. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Like if you do paperwork all day, or you're on a computer all day.
Okay.
It's called. I needed a new word.
Yeah, paperworking, rocking. If you do paper rock scissors for a living, pay attention to people.
Hey, that could be a world game.
It could be.
Parkour,
Some
tag.
things are so stupid.
Okay. Anyway, chase that rabbit.
Some of them are fun.
But when you come home, it's like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, stay on your side of the living room. Like, I just need my space for a moment. Because you do. You go, give all day. And that's what I'm trying to get at is I need those few minutes, but you don't need 4 hours of it, right? I don't need to have 5 hours of leave me alone and don't talk to me.
I think more so I'm needy, though. It's about to get really real. I need it. I need not, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it just...
But you have, yours is affirmation. Your love language is affirmation. Mm-hmm. And in physical.
We took a test.
Well, yeah. Now I can't even remember. I focused. See, I was thoughtful. I remembered what yours were so that I could show that more. Mm-hmm. And now I can't remember what mine was.
One is you need a little bit of space.
Is that a gift?
I don't know if it's a gift, but it's a language. And I wrote that down.
A language.
But it was way down. Where did I put that?
That was something else.
Anyway, give them space. Number 17. That's how far down on my list it is. But you need that. Sometimes that unwinding time.
Yeah, but now I can't. Now I'm going to have to retake the test. I don't remember my answer.
I think letting your spouse know, or letting your friend know, or letting someone know you're thinking about them is extremely important.
Yeah.
Just out of the two blue text, or even at home, just go into where they are for a moment and. You make me coffee whenever you get a chance. You make me coffee and bring it to me, and I try to do the same thing for you if I beat you. But
so not necessarily tangible things.
No, just hey, I'm thinking.
But can be like verbal or emotional or.
And you do that too. There are a lot of times when you're at home and I'm cutting the grass. Usually I try to do it when you're gone or at work. But you'll bring me water, or you'll have one of the kids, hey, take your dad something to drink or something, and. To me, that makes me feel like they thought about me. I'm not just out here sweating my guts out. You're thinking about me or something like that. And
so, what are other ways to be more thoughtful?
I think for husbands or wives doing things.
By the way, he has a cheat sheet.
I do, but
I don't
because I'm prepared. Doing things without being asked to do them. I think that's huge for husbands and wives
and children
and children as well, especially children. Is coming home and if, like, for instance, you work, your schedule is a lot more crazy than mine is. I'm able to go home when I need to go, or schedule around whatever I've got going on, meetings or prayer time or studying, especially studying and writing. I'm able to drop what I'm doing and go. So I try to make sure the house is at least straight, and that's straight, and that's a Southern word, make sure it's clean or decent, I guess. But the other day, you and of course you always clean the house. And you're like probably way worse OCD than I am. But I came home and it didn't even need to be done. But all the cabinets were reorganized and redone. I was trying to put some dishes
that was
up.
Pure boredom. But yeah.
But I think those type of things work. That helps. Spouses need to know the other one is just doing something because they want to make every opportunity for when they're together. There's no need to stress about all this other stuff, And
I'm not organizing counter or cabinets when you're there. I'm using my time wisely so that when you are there, it's our together time,
exactly,
or family time with the kids or whatever.
Exactly right. And we do date night every week. Sometimes baseball gets in the way, or volleyball, depending on what it is, or church stuff. But we do date night usually every Tuesday night. We go out, and tomorrow we're excited. We're going to a new place we've never been. And, somebody reminded us about it yesterday at a church.
Is that where we're going?
Sunday school party. I thought
it's a deal?
Yeah, it's a deal.
Sweet.
Yeah. As long as we get the early bird special with all the seniors. See,
is that a thing?
That discount.
Do they give an early bird?
I don't know. I think that if we're freezing up video wise, we apologize. You can go back and watch or listen on the podcast streaming or whatever. Going out to eat, just sitting across the table from one another. Or one time we sat next to each other, which was really weird. I didn't like that too much. But
yeah, because we had to look like this.
Yeah, so.
Like we were on a podcast.
But I mean, just going out and spending time with one another, is that something that speaks to you, or you think wives would like?
100%. And there is a thoughtfulness to that too, because there's planning that takes place, and you are thinking ahead of where to go, what to do, what night. Like you do have to put thoughtfulness into it. So I think that's a big deal. I think it's good for relationship building and for staying strong and communicating, because you do set that time aside to communicate while you're together eating. Or if you can't make a decision together, like we often can't do, this is a really cool piece of like advice. There's an app. There's many of them, but there's an app where it spins a wheel, and you can put what you want on the wheel. So like when we have nights where he's being so thoughtful that he wants me to decide, and I'm being so thoughtful that I want him to decide, and we can't pick one, so you just put like Mexican, Italian, whatever, or names of restaurants, and you spin the wheel, and whatever it lands on, the deal is that's where you got to go. Yeah. So that's we've done that a couple of times when we couldn't make a decision.
Matter of fact, just this
other day,
this past date night we did.
So, but even stuff like that makes it fun.
Sushi won.
It did. Well, it was Japanese, but yeah.
Well,
that's where we were. But anyway, but even little things like that, they're turning into fun, and not keeping things mundane and whatever.
Do you think that...
just whatever, do you?
Do you think that marriages end because people don't take time to be thoughtful and just pay attention to one another?
Obviously, marriages end for lots of reasons, but I think that is a very strong piece of it. So, communication, thoughtfulness, and prioritizing your relationship over anybody and anything else is pivotal. And one of the other topics that you had sent me to choose from, that was kind of one of them. And we can get to that at some point, obviously, one of our podcasts. But I think thoughtfulness, communication, and prioritizing your relationship is important.
A lot of people think that money is the main. That's just really a catalyst to everything else.
Yeah, there's just a piece of it. But,
yeah. But being thoughtful encompasses a lot of things. I mean, not just doing things with one another, paying attention to one another. It's downplaying other situations, or not downplaying, causing everything or everyone else to be secondary to your spouse.
Right.
I'm not like as a man or you. We don't allow the opposite sex people in our lives that we work with or we're around weekly or daily, depending on what time of the year it is or what time of the year it is. We have to work with them and have good relationships with them, but they understand at all times they are a work colleague or a friend,
or church member,
or whatever, but they are not. Tell them, I guess, maybe one thing to do to be thoughtful in protecting relationships.
Okay, so
what is one thing that you think is important?
I think that when you think of thoughtfulness, a lot of people don't think of protecting.
Right.
But to me, they go together. And so you are protective of having conversations with doors open, having conversations with other people around if you can. There's some conversations that are confidential that you just have to have a door open. Or you bring in another male or another female or whatever so that, there's accountability. And protecting your texts, protecting your messaging, that kind of stuff. If you are a married woman or you are a married man, your conversations that are emotional are with your wife. That has to be protected. Sending memes and videos and I don't know, to me there's no point in it unless it's about your job or your church or whatever, and even what you'll do is if there's an emotional conversation or a counseling session that needs to occur, you'll bring me in if it's a female. And so, or I'll send you sometimes, and people may think this is controlling. I don't know I don't care. But there are times where I've had a male conversation and I'll send screenshots. Hey, just let you know, this is what we were talking about. If it, not work stuff, because a lot of that doesn't matter or whatever. Right. But if it even comes to it where there was a little bit of personal, or there was whatever, not personal, I don't know what I'm trying to say. If it was outside work, but I just need some information on something. Like sometimes I'll send you a screenshot and say, hey, this is just what's going on.
Right. By the way, not solicited. I never asked for that.
No, but like I feel the need sometimes to be like, hey, I talked to this man.
Right.
I don't want it getting twisted that Ellie texted me the other day. You know what I mean? Like, no, I text you about something that was important to talk, or I needed information on, or whatever.
We have friends that, male friends or vice versa, female friends that a male friend may text you. But the cool thing about, I think, our relationship being out there, transparent with other people that they're involved in our life. I mean, one guy in particular, he will send you a text talking to you, but he copies me on it. He includes me in the text, kind of like a group text.
Yeah.
And I don't even respond. And I've never asked them to do that. They just do it because they're thinking their forethought is.
It's a part of the protecting. Yeah. It's a part of the thoughtfulness.
And that's awesome.
It's a part of accountability. Yeah. It just is what it is. I mean, at any point we're fallible. We're emotional, right? Sure. And so you have to protect that, because at some point somebody could read it wrong, take it the wrong way, they're interested in me, whatever, and it's just part of protecting the relationship and being thoughtful.
I think that's
would my husband's feelings be hurt if I said this, or, I don't know, just thinking things through a little bit more.
I think it's important to protect that. I mean, I think there's not anything wrong that we tell the people that listen, or the people that watch, or people that or just ourselves. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, look, I'm going to protect my marriage at all costs. And you may say what you want to say, but I'm going to back it up with how I treat her or him. And I'm going to make sure that there's nothing that can be compromised.
Or twisted. Like, we live in a world right now where everything is twisted.
Right.
And if you don't say it, they think you said it, or they imply that you said it. And so... Gosh, sometimes I just feel like, hey, I just want some accountability. This is what I really said.
Yeah.
So this was our conversation, and if anything comes of it, I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's almost like you go on like protective mode of yourself, and it could be from our experiences. I don't know, but I just feel the need to really be cautious and protective of things like that.
I think it's not just that. I think it's the day that we live in. People are always looking outwardly and looking for something better. And they may have issues at home, so they think, well, this person's great to me at work, and we have a great working relationship. I want more than that. And people do that. I mean, that is just I'm miserable at home. And so I want some attention and some help and some laughter and some joy somewhere else. Well, if you're intentional at home, if you're thoughtful at home, if you're thoughtful with your spouse in your relationships or whatever, you won't look outward. You won't look somewhere else, but you won't look for the grass being greener on the other side somewhere, because you're putting some time and work into it.
Right.
And I've often said to people when I'm speaking at singles things, that when I used to do that, nobody invites me anymore, but when I used to speak at singles conferences and things like that, the reality is you're playing tricks on the people you're dating. Until you get married, no one really knows who you really are.
Right.
And it's all a facade. And so I think...
And how much lotion they have to have.
All the time with their hands. I just think it's important that people need to know that being married or relationships are hard, and they're hard work, because you do every part of life together. Every single aspect of life. One thing you said, surprised with food, and that's something I wrote down. Surprised them with food. And
food is amazing.
Eat together without the phones. That's something that I think is a big, say thank you or I'm sorry. The one thing that hurts me
I'm sorry is the worst.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's hard.
Yeah, one thing that hurts me more than anything is hurting your feelings. I thought I hurt your feelings last night, and it just drove me insane, because I don't want to hurt your feelings, and used to I could care less. I mean,
let's just be honest.
Right. Like, whatever, but I hate that, but because we've poured so much into the 14 years of our relationship together. We've poured a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get this far, and I mean, we've gone too far to turn back, and now let's just fight tooth and nail to. And so, if there's one thing that you could tell people that are listening or watching, what piece of advice would you give them about being thoughtful in their relationship with their spouse? The greatest piece of advice, and it could be anything on the spectrum of, or under the heading of being
Okay, so
thoughtful.
you're asking the person who's not thoughtful?
Yeah, I think it's, do you like it when, and let me throw this in here, do you like it when I just hold your hand for no reason?
Sometimes.
What does that mean?
It means like,
No.
okay, as soon as I
God,
walk in the door,
No.
give me a few minutes. But yeah, if we're randomly,
I'm talking when you're out or something.
if we're randomly walking in public, grab my hand,
or just sitting on the couch, or
in the car, and yes, it just not when I first walk in the door. You want to hold my hand now?
No.
Okay. I think the little surprises, and even when somebody says they don't really like surprises, they technically internally really do, because there is thoughtfulness within it. So I think keeping it fresh, keeping it legit. I'm trying to put in these cool words. Sorry.
You're so cool. Right? That's what it is.
I'm thoughtful.
That's how you think. That's how you are.
Just the showing the effort to try and to say, look, I don't want us to fall apart. I don't want us to have distance. I don't want us to grow out of love. So I'm doing these little things to show you that I care, to show you that I'm thinking of you, to show you that I love. And like I said, it doesn't have to be tangible, but just the little things, And if I forgot my towel at the shower, you put my towel there. But it's thoughtful. Like, you're going, oh, I don't want her to freeze to death going halfway across the room to get a towel. You know what I mean? Or bringing me coffee, or, just little things. And so even there's thoughtfulness in, like, knowing and reading my body language. Hey, she needs a few minutes. She needs to go on this walk by herself right now. She needs to go pick blueberries by herself right now. Like, just give her some space.
I'm glad about that.
She needs to sit on the rocking chair on the front porch for a few minutes by herself. Like, reading some of those things, or joining me but sitting in silence. Mm-hmm. So reading body language, which implies that you have to know each other, which does take time, but you have to really listen to cues. And I know they all say women don't really know what they want, and we change our mind all the time, which is true. But go with us. Like,
change our mind too.
Change too, yeah. I peeked at this one.
Which one?
Avoid keeping score.
Yeah.
That's a hard one, but I always like to win. So I don't even know if I really want that on there.
I just think, avoid keeping score is like, I do more things for you than you do for me. And I think that's important in relationships with your spouse, or even...
I think that's a moment of a lot of tension for a lot of spouses, because, when you get into a fight and it's, well, I do this for you and I do this and that's the first thing you do. You start listing, right? Which is keeping score. And so trying to be careful of that is important, even though you really want to win.
You are competitive.
Yeah.
Even just trying to outbless one another. That's funny.
Oh, sorry. I'm not a professional
real quick,
speaker.
We're 33 minutes in.
Gosh.
Which is good.
We're talking too much.
No big deal. There's a couple things I want to throw in about thoughtfulness. And look, we are a PG show, but there are going to be things that we talk about that, people may...
Cover your ears.
Yeah, cover your ears or whatever. But as a spouse, a married couple, sex always is always in the top part of, and it depends. I was having a conversation with a man, and I'm not going to give the details, but he's in his 70s, and he said the other day about something physical with his wife, and it was in confidence. It was not and he was depressed and hurt because he's not able to have that relationship right now because of medical treatment. Right. And man, it killed me. But even someone in their 70s, they still have that attraction to their wife, which to me was a super blessing, because that he's in love with his wife and wants to have that physical relationship with her.
But there's also the psychological side of it, because it is a need.
It is a need, right? Mm-hmm. But to say that, we're talking about thoughtfulness, not thoughtfulness or back rubs. I put that on there, give them a back rub. we'll go to sleep and one of us has had a stressful day. And most people, and if you're a man, you know what I'm talking about. You always, a backwood rub always leads to physical relations or whatever. And that's, I think being thoughtful is not allowing it to lead to that. I mean, just like a stressful day, there are days you come in and you are just beat up mentally, and you have knots in your back and you wear tension, and just to give you a back rub until you go to sleep. And it's literally laying on your side. I'm laying on my side.
Right.
I'm reading the Bible on my phone and using my right hand to rub your shoulders to get the knots out. And that's true.
Thoughtful.
I mean, it's half thoughtful. But so I don't fall asleep or whatever. And that's true. I mean,
but really doing something thoughtfully with no other intention in itself goes a long way.
But and I'm saying that and kind of going to that conversation because men, especially, men need, want, or desire physical contact, but men have got to figure out how to touch your wife in a way that doesn't imply, hey, I want you to have sex with me at this moment, that you're more important than just that.
Meeting a need, yeah. Well, I think part of the thoughtfulness is that all of your touches aren't just for sex. Yeah. Like, some of your touches are just to say, hey, I'm here for you, or whatever. But, like, you know, it doesn't have to always lead to that.
Right.
And then the woman feels used, like, that's the only time he ever wants to touch me. Right. Or they fight back because when he does go to hug or whatever, they tense up because they go, I'm not ready for this right now. You know what I mean? Like, I just need a few minutes, you know? And so...
Actually, no, I don't know what you mean. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
But I mean, you know, just being able to read and know that, hey, I can hug you today and nothing's going to happen. Or I'm going to kiss you today and nothing's... So that when those moments do occur, the woman's not, like, mad or whatever. Or because it can be in reverse.
Not likely.
But can be. They just don't assume that you're there to get something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I brought that up because I think men, especially, because I'm a man, I'm speaking from that, but also as a woman, and there are only two genders, but as a woman, and you don't choose that, you are that. But I think it's important that we as men know that also is something that shows the woman thoughtfulness. Mm-hmm. That, man, they really love just me, and not my body or the act of having sexual relations with, and having, and we'll talk about that one day, but that is a huge part of marriage, and you've got to keep that fresh, you've got to keep that intense, and you've got to keep it where your spouse knows, I desire only you and want to be with you in this way as well. Right. So, but I wanted to say that. Now, did you want to say anything else?
Nope.
With that, okay, because that's very uncomfortable. But one thing that we do more than anything, uncomfortable. One thing that we do more than anything is we talk about the future. And I think that is huge when it comes to being thoughtful in your relationship with your spouse.
You think that?
I do.
Okay. So you mean thoughtful in as I'm not thinking about the here and now, I'm thinking about the bigger picture. And so some of the things that I do are for our future together. Yes. Because you're planning, basically.
Right. I think the thoughtfulness comes into they're thinking about being with me for the rest of their life.
Right.
And that
the commitment.
There's commitment there, that there's no other plans. You know, one of the big things that we've dealt with over the years in ministry, and that I've dealt with and you have as well, is couples that are waiting till the kids get out of the house so they can divorce their spouse.
Yes, that's very common.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah, very common.
We've had it happen in our relationships with some families and counsel people that are counseling people. I don't know, whatever you people are. But planning the future, I love it when you talk about what we're going to do in 5 years or 10 years, or I love that. And I think, to me, that speaks to me, and that's thoughtful, that, you know, my wife is thinking about us in the future, and I think that brings good health to not only just mentally, but I think emotionally and physically. I think that it releases things in people's minds and their bodies that I have something to live for.
Yeah.
I can breathe easy. That my
Well, it
spouse
also
can.
says just because we had one bad day or we had one bad fight, like it doesn't mean you throw in the towel and you're done. Like
Right.
that's part of life. You're gonna disagree on things or whatnot. But I want to say this because I feel like I got to get it out before we close, and it kind of has to do with it a little bit. But one of the things that I think is really important, and we've tried to do this, and I know in smaller houses it can be hard to do. I think it's very important that your children, if you have children, see you being thoughtful to each other, and that they do not hear your arguments.
Oh, yeah.
That is the most stressful, emotional, and hurtful thing as parents that we can do. And I know we will have a podcast later on parents.
Yeah.
But it goes with the thoughtfulness because they have got to see you respecting each other. They've got to see you being thoughtful. Are you going to have arguments? Yes. But figure out how to argue quieter or at a different location.
Yeah.
Figure it out because it's not worth putting them through what they're... And it almost makes them want to choose sides without saying it like they are. And so one of the coolest things I absolutely love about our children getting older, because you've been thoughtful over the years... and done a quick drive-by and dropped me off a snack or whatever, one of the most evident things of you being thoughtful is now showing itself in Brandon. Mm-hmm. Will is still not driving. Brandon's can drive. Bailey's old. She's old. She's married, and has our grandbaby and all that stuff. But Brandon will occasionally come to my school and bring me a snack or an icy, being thoughtful. And he has learned that. He would not have known to do that. I don't think it's always innate to do things like that if it wasn't for you being that example. So I think it's really important that our kids see us being thoughtful to each other. It goes a long way. And you don't have to sit there and go, now son, now daughter, you have to be thoughtful, I mean, do you teach them some things about courting and picking out their spouses? Yes. But you're not like, I'm gonna go buy mom a Coke right now, and this is what you got to do to keep them. Like it's not like that. They just naturally see it occurring, and it becomes a part of their life.
Yeah, that excites me when he does that. I love that. And the first time he did it, he didn't even say anything. He just showed up, and I love that. And he's done that for me once or twice. He can do it more, but. Just
he works.
Up. Right.
Well, he was working a lot.
Dad, or he'll call or text. Dad, you want me to bring you Bubba-ritos? Which was always yes, But one thing is he waits too late, and I already have eaten.
Yeah,
because I eat
that's
like
okay.
at 10:30 or 11.
It's the thought.
It is the thought, and it's thoughtfulness. So I'm so excited about what we're embarking on. I'm loving this. I think it's going to be awesome. And thoughtfulness. That's a hard first.
Speaking of thoughtfulness, I have to go get our daughter from volleyball.
This is a great first podcast to talk about being thoughtful, and so I'm really excited. Thank you for thinking of me and being a part of.
Thank you for thinking of me and bringing me onto your show.
Oh my gosh, this is not my show. That is a whole nother.
Can't even stop hitting the microphone.
Yeah. But thank you guys for joining us on the 314 podcast. Always remember to be thoughtful. Always remember to love one another and prefer other people above yourself, because that is what God has called us to do. And I want to read this scripture verbatim to you. And for whatever reason, I can't find it because I'm a knucklehead and I don't have it.
I just want to say one more thing before we leave.
Yes.
I wanted to say this when we started, and I didn't think about it. Okay. We're back! For those of you who watched us before.
Yeah, well, sorry. Sorry I look older and Ellie looks younger.
I don't at
Colossians 3:14, beyond all things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. And hopefully, by the way, love does conquer all, because love is simply God, and God conquers everything. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes there's justice. Sometimes there's some wrath that goes within love. So love is not all fluff. So just love one another. Think about everything else, but above everything else, love, love, love. Thank you for joining us on the 314 podcast. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.